What does archiving mean in your universe?
For me, it is just making sure everything that's analog to be digital, but 3 steps forward is to make sure that what is digital is renamed and redated. So what that means is right now, if you go on a trip and you take a photo or a video, you can find where you took that photo or video. You can find the date because your camera, your phone, which is your camera, captures that information. You can sort of go into the maps of your photo and figure out, see all your photos from Italy or Las Vegas. But when we digitize analog, it just becomes ING 234.
Right.
And it becomes whatever date it was scanned. And I know a lot of companies scan, and it's great. I mean, it's better to have it scanned than not at all in case of a fire or flood or whatever. But then they don't make sense of it. And that's where sort of a professional photo organizer such as myself in my studio, that's where we make the difference in making sense of it.
Welcome to the House of Germar podcast, where wellness starts within. The House of Germar is a lifestyle brand empowering women to live all in through interior design and personal wellness. We are a destination for women ready to reimagine what is possible in their homes and lives and then create it. We are honored to have you join us on our mission to empower 1 million women to live all in. I am your host, Jean Collins, and I invite you to become inspired by this week's guest. Welcome to the House of Germar podcast, where wellness starts within. I'm your host, Jean Collins, and today we are going to be talking about pictures. Get ready, everybody. This is a good one. We have Haleh Shoa, and she is the founder of Picturli, which is a really cool company, and she specializes in something that we all think about doing, but don't necessarily do it, which is archiving your pictures. And she happens to live in LA, so we have a lot to talk about, and thankfully she is safe. Her family is safe. We're recording this right after the fires in LA, so we will talk a little bit about that and the importance of what she's doing to help families preserve their memories and her journey and how she got to be doing what she's doing. And we'll also touch on a little wellness because, we always talk about wellness. So Haleh, welcome to the House of Germar podcast.
Thank you so much, Jean. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, I'm excited to have you, and especially given all that's going on in LA. So before we get started, what is LA like? Like, what are things like for you and your family and for your friends that are out there right now?
Luckily, my family and I are safe and the studio's safe. I'm very grateful for that. It's really sad. I have a lot of clients who've lost everything. I have a lot of friends who've lost everything. So I think we're all in shock still.
Yeah.
I've made phone call. Luckily, I have a lot of therapists and in my circle where I can sort of rely on them to ask them, do I call? Like, what do I even say? Because it's such a huge loss to the whole city, to the whole county. It's been hard to even process.
I'm sure. Yeah. Because it affects a whole community and it's hard for us to even understand. And I live in Connecticut, and I remember seeing someone posted on Instagram that the size of the destruction of the Palisades fire was larger than Manhattan. And that was the first time it actually put that magnitude into perspective for me, someone out here who's not as familiar with that part of the country. I've been there, but not as familiar. And just thinking about the fact that like entire communities are gone and how tragic that really is to be living through that. So that's a lot. There's a lot of heaviness to that. So I thank you for taking the time to come and talk about your business and what you're doing in spite of that heaviness.
Thank you. And, it's more important than ever to talk about this.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So let's talk a little bit about you and what is your career journey to becoming an entrepreneur?
I started in 2015. I went through a coaching program where I just really wanted to kind of dig deep and figure out what it is that I want to do if I were to do my own business. And all the sort of the praying and the visualizations and the digging deeper led me to the fact that I just love working with memories and creating with memories. I love creating photo books, gallery walls, whatever it is with memories. Every year I make a calendar for my family with our photos. It was one part of it. Another part of it was that I archived my own family memories in my 20s while working in advertising because my family left Iran during the Iranian Revolution and they weren't able to take much with them. So it was kind of like the house is on fire. What do you take with you?
Right.
So my mom packed 3 suitcases full of photos. In my mid-20s, I sort of started digging through them and started archiving them, started emailing them I have family in 4 continents, to my family at large. And it was just, would bring so many stories out. It's like, oh, I remember this and that, And that's really like those 2 things is really what brought me to where I am today, and wanting to be able to help families preserve not only their memories, but the stories, to give them an aspect and an avenue to be able to share their childhood with their grandkids or with their cousins or whoever. And here we are.
And here you are. Did you ever think you would be an entrepreneur?
Yes and no. When I first decided to do this, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be so easy.
Excuse me for laughing.
How hard could it be? Wouldn't everyone want to have a beautiful photo book? What I've always known is that I want to be a boss. Like, I've always been a boss. I had a big girl job in advertising, launched many campaigns that I was responsible for, and I didn't do it myself. So I've always had a team. And so what I realize is, like, yes, I love doing photo books, but there's a lot of things that go into having a company, and I don't want to do all of it. And so now I have to have a company. I have to have employees. I have to have standard operating procedures and know how to do all the, payroll and clean. I'm the chief cleaning officer as well.
Right. There isn't an HR department to call when you have questions or need a form for something.
Or, IT. I've always, I'm kind of a tech geek, which is why another reason why I wanted to do this, because I understand technology. But it's like, you need IT when your server goes down. It's like, what do I do now? It's the hardest thing I've ever done. And it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
Which is really cool. I love that. Now, when you started your business, was it just you? Or did you hire a team right away?
It was just me. And, I started right out the gate. I got a client who may have been the client with the biggest stash of photos I've ever seen still. Because I was in this coaching group. It was a women's empowerment group. And there was a woman in the group. And she's like, I think I have a client for you. And so we show up. It was in Laurel Canyon. Her dining room was bigger than my house. Yeah. And it was 3 feet deep of photos. And then in the perimeter of her dining room were also 3 feet of photos.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, so out the gate, I was like, okay, wait, I got into this to wanting to do photo books. And what do I do now? And so it sort of pushed me into archiving and learning how to archive. How do you properly archive? And, I started studying the Library of Congress, the literature that they put out in terms of archiving. And so, yeah, it was good.
So what does archiving mean in your universe?
For me, it is just making sure everything that's analog to be digital, but 3 steps forward is to make sure that what is digital is renamed and redated. So what that means is, right now, if you go on a trip and you take a photo or a video, you can find where you took that photo or a video. You can find the date, because your camera, your phone, which is your camera, captures that information. You can sort of go into the maps of your photo and figure out, you see all your photos from Italy or Las Vegas. But when we digitize analog, it just becomes ING 234. And it becomes whatever date it was scanned. And I know a lot of companies scan, and it's great. I mean, it's better to have it scanned than not at all in case of a fire or flood or whatever. But then they don't make sense of it. And that's where a sort of a professional organizer, photo organizer, such as myself in my studio, that's where we make the difference in making sense of it.
I can't even imagine making sense of my boxes of photos. So let's talk about this from a consumer perspective. So if I were to reach out to you, what's the process?
We start every collection with a family chart, sort of like birthdays, important dates, essentially, right? When were you born? When was your partner born? The kids, your parents, anyone that we could find in old photos. So we do a family chart and we paste it all over the studio when we're working on a collection. And the reason why we do that is so that we can organize things chronologically. And when we organize it chronologically, then we scan it and then we can rename and redate it based on the chronology of what we receive.
Right.
And so, and our clients have clients who have never talked to before. You could have as much information as you'd like. I can give our clients like a weekly update, or, I could just put it in a Google sheet and share it with them and they can look at it. So as little involvement. It's just the beginning where we need to understand, okay, show me what your mom looked like when she was 5 and 15 and 25, and then we can figure out the rest. Right. So we just need to see what people look like at different ages so that we can identify those photos and match it to the timeline.
So do you literally take boxes of photos and like lay them all out? What's your studio look like?
Literally.
Oh
Well, we have a lot of flat space.
It's like a puzzle. Yeah. Okay.
It's exactly that.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of flat stand-up desks because sometimes you just get tired of sitting down, and sometimes you need to kind of move fast in sorting, right? So one side of the studio is where all the digitization and the analog organization is, and the other side of the studio is where we do all the digital organization. And that's when we download your iCloud and your partner's iCloud and come up with a solution on how we can combine that, come up with solutions on how we can combine that with the things that we scan in case you want to provide, certain aspects of it to family at large and keep certain aspects of it private. So there's a lot that goes into really understanding how you want to enjoy your memories and how you want to share it. Do you just want to share it with you and your partner and maybe your kids? Or do you want to go and give certain parts of the library to your parents, say, or to your aunts and uncles? Because a lot of times one person in the family ends up with all the family photos. It could be the eldest child, or it could be the child that has the biggest house, or it could be the child that has more money or more kids, whatever it is. Like usually like one person ends up with everything. And what the work that we do, we allow families to be able to share that with families at large.
So cool. So you're taking not only people's printed photos from years ago, you're also taking you can take their digital library to incorporate all of that to make it present, to like include the family memories up into present day.
Yeah. I mean, we see a digital hole. Like in 1996 is when digital cameras started to get adopted. And people were still printing it because it was just what we did. And they didn't know what to do with the digital files.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it would end up in CDs. So we get a lot of CDs with a lot of that because they didn't know what to do with it.
I'm laughing. I have boxes of CDs and photos. I am totally your ideal client. Here we go. Drives, like memory drives.
The drives. And you're like, oh my God, I haven't seen that photo of my kid who's now like 25, 28, whatever. Because their baby photos are stuck in these little thumb drives or digital video, tapes.
Yes.
We did a lot of tapes when they were younger. So we take all of that and we include all of that in the library. So there is nothing that we can't do in this agency. Right. And it's wonderful to be able to be a 360, like to be able to provide, like if you consider something a memory, we can help you archive it.
Wow. Including film? Do you do actual?
Absolutely.
I've whatever those like film stips. No, I'm thinking like when you used to go and have your film developed at, the Kodak place, and you'd get the envelope and you'd get the pictures, but you'd also get like that strip.
The negatives.
People who can't watch this. Yes. Thank you. The negatives.
The negatives. Yeah. In fact, we really encourage our clients to scan the negatives because you actually get more photo. The ratio of negatives is different than the 4x6s that we used to get. The 4x6s get cut off. So when we scan the negatives, you can actually see more photo. Yes. Now, it may not matter because most people, if they're okay to good photographers, they were sort of framing the picture correctly. But these photos, especially if they're in sticky album, they really degrade considerably. So we really do encourage to scan the negatives. It is more expensive, but you get a better quality scan out of it.
Right. And then what is the output like?
So, it's important to note that when we actually go through our clients' collections that we curate heavily. Like, you may have gone with your girlfriends back in college and even high school. You guys may have gone on a trip and you just took so many photos of the sky, the this, the that you may not even care about now, right? It's
Right.
just the people photos that really matter. So we take out the things that may not matter to you and to things that you may want to pass on to future generations. And so we curate heavily, and anything that we scan goes into beautiful boxes, archival boxes that we return to the clients. And they're able to sort of, if they're looking at their library, the digital library, they're able to go into the box and find that photo so they can actually thumb through the photos. Because I do think analog photos and memories do have a lot of energy. They hold a lot of energy.
Oh, wow. So someone can see it digitally, and then the way it is described or whatever, they can then go find that actual image as well.
Yeah, they're matched. It's like a library system.
Oh, that's so cool. That is even better than just sending back the box in this random order, being able to go back and sometimes get those
Right.
pictures.
No, there's no random order.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, and the other thing I'm thinking of, which this might sound a little bit morbid, but is actually very applicable, when your parents pass away, or, grandparents or family members that are older, if you go to have a memorial service for them, there's this mad dash and scramble to come up with photographs of them throughout their lifetime. And I know for myself, from personal experience, like there's a lot of time and energy spent on that at a time that's not where your energy should have to be going. And
Right.
so it would be so helpful. And I remember after the fact being like, oh, there's that photo. It's such a bummer. We didn't find that in time for the poster and this. And, so to be able to have that, especially as our parents age, so that they can give the input on those photos as well as to what those photos are, especially, the ones that they have inherited from their parents and of their youth. I could look at pictures and I wouldn't necessarily know if it's my father or my uncle, but yet my father, since he's still alive, would be able to tell me that. And now is an important time to do that.
Yeah, it's so important. Even if you don't want to get your whole collection digitized and organized right away, I think it's really important to go through it yourself. I know it's really daunting, but I'm going to just give you and your listeners some just quick tips on even how to start. So one of the things that we encourage everyone to do is to take everything out and put all the like for likes together. What I'm talking about is put all the CDs and DVDs together, put all the tapes together that are the same. Even if you don't know what tape you have, just look at the size and go, okay, I think that's the same as that because it's the same size. So that way you would know at least how many VHS tapes you have, how many high eights, how many loose boxes of loose photos do you have, how many albums do you have? And then you could go from there. An album holds approximately 300 to 500 photos, usually closer to the 300 range. A shoebox of photos holds about 1,000. So if you have like 5 shoebox worth of photos, you have about 5,000 photos.
Yeah.
If you have 30 albums, you have about 900 to 1,200 photos, right? So then that way you can get an idea of how many photos that you have. And if you do want to go to the next step, always start with the albums because that's where you or your mom or your grandmother or whoever spend some time to organize that and put that together. So always start with the albums because then that gives you some semblance of an organization. This is exactly what we do in this agency, by the way. We always start with the albums and we always leave the loose photos to the very end because the loose photos are either the photos that were the most important because someone passed away and you were scrambling and you took out the best photos of them, or they're the sort of the C photos, the photos that you didn't necessarily want to throw away, but you didn't want to put it in the albums. So it's kind of like a good rule of thumb to start there. And then take your tapes and DVDs and CDs to someone local or, call us and we can help you. But take it and get those digitized and transferred. And make sure that they can rename and redate because there's information even on VHS tapes. Somebody always wrote something like so-and-so's graduation, 2002, right? There's information on there that you must retain. And it's really important not to lose that information.
Right. Wow. So of the digital output, can people then take those files and let's say, I'm just going to use like Shutterfly, for example, right? I have different books that people have created over my daughter's lifetime of her at different periods of time. And Are the photos in a format that someone could take those and be like, oh, wow, let's take that Paris trip that we never did anything with and let's create a bound book from it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All your digital and all your digitized analog will all be in a format where you could do multiple types of projects with them, gallery walls and photo books. And we do that all the time with our clients.
How do your clients find you?
Well, we're on all the socials except TikTok. I never did TikTok, but I'm on Instagram. We do a lot of tips on Instagram and Facebook, and of course, our website.
So do you find most people come to you because they know someone who's done something, or they've just done a Google search and then they find you that way?
Now that I've been established for some time, it's both. It's through word of mouth. I work with a lot of designers and I work with a lot of home organizers because, designers can, obviously anyone that can go into someone's home and see and be able to help a family. Like, we're all resources for our client. Like, I always tell my clients, if you need anything, even if it's like a really good plumber, just let me know and I can figure that out for you. I have such we are all such deep resources for our clients.
Yes.
That, home organizers and designers can go into the home and go, okay, I know someone who could do this for you. I get referrals through sort of our, what we consider power partners. And then Google is a big one.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Is there part of you that's a little bit amazed at how big your business has gotten?
Yes. I mean, I practice gratitude every day and my business is always in my heart. And even when it's, in the slow periods, and I've been in business long enough to know that even the slow periods is a gift from the universe to say, okay, now you get to work on your business.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yes.
This is a gift and use it as that. Everything is a gift. Every day we wake up is a gift. Sometimes I have to pinch myself. I have 1,800 square foot office. It's absolutely beautiful. I designed every aspect of it, from picking the flooring to the colors on the walls. And I only had 5 days to do it. It was crazy. It was like, wait, what? The walls are already up. And it's beautiful. And we receive clients here. But of course, we also go to our clients, no matter where they are, to be able to help them and collect their information and their assets.
Yeah. And how do most people ship everything to you? Because I'm thinking of the woman with all of those photos in her dining room. Like, that's a lot of stuff.
Well, luckily, Laurel Canyon is not that far from where we are in Los Angeles. So we were able to go to her. But this is still when I had my big girl job in advertising. So I got the client, and then I was working at an ad agency that was doing global work for Jaguar Land Rover. And then they turned around and said, hey, can you be our director of operations globally? And I was like, well, I can't really turn that down because that's really a fun little gig. And so I put my husband on the photo organizing stuff because he used to deal with assets and he's a photographer. So it was like go time in 2016, 2017, 2018. It was like, we were both working 24 hours a day. It was fun and it was exhausting. And we both learned a lot. But, of course, it's easier for us to work with our clients. But, I've gotten to a point where I don't really need that much of my clients' time. I just really need to understand their goals, which is, we have a pretty good process in obtaining that and just learning who's really important in their photo collection.
Right. Doing the upfront work of who's who. It's the who's who org chart. Yes. Yep. Oh, that's so fascinating. All right. So you mentioned the universe, one of my favorite woo-woo things to start to talk about, and gratitude.
I can woo-woo with you for a long time.
I'm all in. I'm all about gratitude. I start every day with a gratitude practice. So I would love to learn some of the things that you do, because I always think for my audience, they see us as these businesswomen who run these businesses, and yet it's important for them to understand the stuff that we do on the side to take care of ourselves and our own inner wellness, because it is a necessity, I feel, and I feel very strongly about this as an entrepreneur, and especially as a woman. Like, you have to take care of you. Otherwise, no one else is going to. So let's talk a little woo. Let's talk a little wellness.
Let's get woo. Yeah. Let's get woo and well.
I love it.
For me, woo and wellness are hand in hand. Obviously, when things are well and you have all these clients flowing through and everything's working out perfectly, it's great. But there's an ebb and flow to everything. There's an ebb and flow to our bodies. There's an ebb and flow to everything, to what's happening in the world right now. And, the good is great. And the things that, I'm not going to say negative, but the things that go against what we expect and what we don't want is what's happening for us and not to us.
Yes.
So when the going gets really tough, I just kind of go to that 30,000 foot level and sort of try and see why this is happening for me right now. What are the lessons that I'm supposed to take away from this? And it really changes the energy of, holy cow, and that anxiety to really getting grounded and, being able to stay clear and have your clarity as you're going through these tough times.
Yeah. And it's a lot. It's hard to do sometimes, especially as an entrepreneur, because you're carrying the weight of your success. Plus, once you have employees, you're carrying the weight of their success also. And that's a lot.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot to sign up for. But,
yeah.
I do believe that we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. So our spirits are here to learn from this human experience, from this vessel. So what am I here to learn and what is my purpose? And I've always known that my purpose is service. I don't know. I mean, and service comes in so many different ways, right? I could be a doctor, or I could be a photo organizer and help people.
Of course. It's still service.
Service.
Customer service in your business is critical. You are still in a service industry.
That's right.
Trying to make people's lives better. Yes. Now, do you journal? Do you meditate?
I pray.
Good.
I don't meditate. I do nature walks, which is kind of a meditation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Although our nature right now she's going through a lot right now.
Yeah. I
do journal, but not every day, and it makes me so sad because when I go through my journal, I'm like, why didn't I remember about that? But just like life gets in the way. I have ADHD and it's hard for me to have consistency. And I think it's important. I was always like ashamed of saying that I have ADHD because I'm like, I have a big girl job. I can't say I have ADHD or I'm an entrepreneur. But you know what? Whoever's listening to this, you're not alone. There's a lot of successful people with big jobs or businesses that are growing and thriving who have ADHD. It's not easy, but you have a magical brain like I do.
Yeah.
And sometimes the consistency part is difficult for us. And especially the consistency part in wellness. So,
yeah.
And I think it's important for us to at least remind ourselves that our person is important, we are important, especially as women. We have to continue to remind ourselves that we're important and to make sure that we are making ourselves like, I always put myself last. It's like, oh, the business, the husband, the family,
yeah.
And, no, I'm important. I need to take care of myself. So
yes, you have to make yourself a priority.
Exactly.
Without a doubt. My business coach always says, I am valuable because I am. And it's like, she's always reminding me, like, you are valuable because you are, not because I am. She's like, it's not just because you hit a revenue goal or you accomplished this. And it's hard as an entrepreneur because we evaluate ourselves based on such different success metrics. And she's always trying to get me to like pull inward in terms of success as an entrepreneur.
I love that. I try and redefine success for me because success in most first world countries is money, right? What's success?
Yes.
Oh, how much money am I making? But for me, the success is the fact that I don't have to work 10 hours a day. And I don't. Success is for me to have a flexible schedule, for me to be able to see my parents. My dad's 97, my mom's 84. For me to be there for my husband and my family. So we can define let's put it this way. I'm so grateful that I can define success for myself. That's another thing that I'm really grateful for, that I can define that as an entrepreneur.
Yes. Well, and a lot of times they say, I was just reading a book called The Illusion of Money, and it's that, really what we want, it's not that we want money, we want freedom. And, people don't like scream and yell, like, yeah, I want to work 18 hours a day to make all this money. We don't actually want that. We want freedom of choice, and we want freedom to be able to be ourselves and do the things that we want to do.
That's right.
And money sometimes affords us that freedom, but a lot of that comes from within first. In order to get that freedom, is understanding who you are and finding your passions and following it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ooh. So what's on your bucket list for the future for you personally and professionally?
I think that, ironically, I think these fires are going to really make people a little bit more conscious about preserving their memories and therefore positively affecting people calling us and wanting to hire us.
Yeah.
So sort of from the ashes we rise. I mean, not that oh my gosh, I can't even imagine if anything happens to the studio. But so I think that's a good thing. We're just kind of gearing up. I've gotten a lot of phone calls. I just went to New York to be on Good Day New York to talk about the importance of preserving and how to even make it so we're agile in case something happens in the house. But personally, I would, I always want to take an international trip every year. And I've been doing that for at least 20 years. So this year might be Japan. I don't know yet.
Ooh, it's a big one.
Yes. So it depends on, on a lot of things, like the when and how and all that stuff. But it's hard. It's hard when you have employees and they rely on you for a lot of information for you to be out three weeks.
Right. Yes, exactly. That's a tough vacation to take. But if you're going to go that far away, you almost need to.
Yes. So that's one of the things. And then just continue my self-care. Like I really started a good self-care routine that I am comfortable with. It's not super difficult. So just continuing that and continuing to feel better, to feel lighter and healthier and more clear about what we need to do.
Yeah. But then the universe brings what you think about is what you attract. So I truly believe that, right? And so that's
Let's talk about manifesting.
Exactly. Like really what you think about is what you attract. And I've met so many entrepreneurs that are like, that's exactly why I have what I have and how I've created the life that I've had, is that I just believed in myself and I had a vision and I had a goal and I just kept taking baby steps towards getting to it. And that's manifesting in its most basic sense.
It's so true.
Yeah, which is so great. Well, I've taken up so much of your time. And truly, once again, you're in LA, and I just feel so grateful that you were even willing to get on with us, because I feel like there's just a lot going on in your universe over there. So before we go, I always like to ask my guests if there's a book that they would recommend that has impacted them either professionally or personally, because I'm a true believer that books can change lives. So is there a book you think our audience should read?
Yes, there is a book by my coach who I studied with in 2015. And I'm actually one of her coaches now. I went through her TAIL program, and I'm also a life/business coach.
Love it.
And her name is Andrea Quinn, and she wrote the 9 essential tools for women to be able to accomplish anything.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's great. I coach with her 9 tools. I practice her 9 tools. It's not anything that we never heard of, but it's just the way she puts it. And it's a very magical program, and it's a very magical book. And so I hope that you guys all look her up and get her book and get her audio. It's her voice. And she's a slice of heaven. She's amazing.
I love that. I have never heard of her, and I do try to read all the books that all of my guests recommend. So I grow a lot by having so many guests on. It's wonderful. So I love coaches. I think coaching is so important, both personally and in my career. I think coaching is really important. Yeah. And I think it's a gift to be able to coach people. So I am so excited. I will definitely read her book. Thank you so much. Is there anything that I did not ask you that you want to make sure we get out that you want to share?
If people want to sign up on our website, it's Picturli, Picturli, and that's a weird spelling, Picturli.com/connect. So if you want to connect with us, you can sign up for a 7-step guide on how to start organizing your own photo collection. And it's a really good tool to obviously it's not going to give you everything that you need because it is a long process, but you can sign up to receive that. Otherwise, reach out to us, follow us on all of our channels on Instagram and Facebook. We put out a lot of great content that I think is helpful. Also, if you sign up, we do a lot of workshops, and of course, you'll be getting notified about that.
So great. And I will include all of that in the show notes and link and tag everything. And when this comes out, I'll tag you on social media as well. So everyone will be able to go and find you. So, Haleh, thank you so much. This is really, it makes me think this is kind of on my to-do list, is to deal with the many boxes of photos that I have from when my daughter was younger in particular. And I know my father has an attic full of family photos. And every time I go up there, it honestly just gives me anxiety because I don't know what to do about them. So I am so happy that I met you, and hopefully our paths will cross again. So thank you so much.
I would love
thank
that,
you.
Jane.
Thank you for being a guest, and have a beautiful day, and good luck to you and all of your neighbors in LA.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the House of Germar podcast, where wellness starts within. We appreciate you being a part of our community and hope you felt inspired and motivated by our guest. If you enjoyed this episode, please write us a review and share it with friends. Building our reach on YouTube and Apple Podcasts will help us get closer to our mission to empower 1 million women to live all in. You can also follow us on Instagram at House of Germar and sign up to be a part of our monthly inspiration newsletter through our website, houseofgermar.com. If you or someone you know would be a good guest on the show, please reach out to us at podcast@houseofgermar.com. This has been a House of Germar production with your host, Jean Collins. Thank you for joining our house.